It is the morning of December the 5th, 2016. I'm Dina, your host, the nuclear proctologist.org. And you can get these videos and Fukushima presentations. The real stuff, the real deal. And I think today's story is such an unbelievable, inconceivable, horrifying story where we have fake activists, really, truly embedded in our movements. And this is has always been going on, but nobody's ever called these people out, or because it's so hard to come out with the documentation. It takes so much work just to get up and do the things like I do. I don't expect people to pull off what I can pull off. Let's face it. Just, you need a whole team, or you need to be dedicated like someone like me. And so, Shaun McGee is an interesting example and a pertinent and important one that we are going to rise up to. Without checks and balances, the system will wreck everything. So we tendency to try to find people that are those checks and balances. But a lot of these people are planted. A lot of these people are definitely not genuine. And a lot of these people are very connected. And all of this will become evident within the next 30 minutes. I've been insulted by Shaun McGee, which is what you're looking at right there. Shaun McGee is also writing articles. He should have kept his mouth shut, actually. But he didn't. That's why we're here. So, at the top of that, what you see is how many videos he's done with a can of beer. So what he's doing is accusing me of drinking beer in my cup. So I got the cup out and we had it out. Okay, I want you to tell me the truth. Has somebody been drinking beer out of you? Because we've been together a long time. We only drink tea. I need to know. Because I can get another cup, you know. And so it turns out, just tea was drinking out of that cup. Mr. Cup, Mrs. Cup, Dog Cup, whatever you want to call it, assured me that I'm the only person for that cup. The cup is drinking teas. My uranium-soaked cigarettes? Now, the cigarettes that I do smoke, and there's not a lot, are they don't have 7,000 chemicals. So are you more worried about 7,000 chemicals, or are you actually worried about, the actual 7,000 chemicals? So uranium, of course, which is what's in a reactor, the connotations. Now what Shaun McGee, who's very connected to Busby, was attempting to do to somebody was ridicule me. When he's supposed to be an activist, he knows I don't lie. So my response to that, of course, if Shaun McGee really thinks it's like uranium-laced cigarettes, I wonder why he's not on the bus. Right. Now let's talk about how sinister this actually is. Let's think about for 1 second, we're going to cover the rest of this. Missing cores, melted down, missing. He's mocking anybody who supports me in that conversation, obviously. Now, if you look at TEPCO's website, let's dump me out of the background. Let me fix that before I go anywhere, though. I'll get it at some later point, I'm sure. Okay, I'll fix that later. I fix it later. So, reactors in Japan. Now, what's important about it is your fourth paragraph up, reactor building from the bottom. Ground height approximately 58 meters. That's 90 feet. And 90 feet, 58 meters is 190 feet. 190. Now, underground, it's 60 feet. Under the ground, it's going to be 60 feet. And you can see that depiction that I got set up where you can actually see me. And so that's round. And we're going to talk about this for a little detail for the next couple of minutes so we can really bring that point home. If you keep going all the way through, eventually you're going to come out the other side. I'm drinking tea out of that red cup. You can tell the difference between someone drinking tea and drinking beer, which is what he had accused me of, right, over and over and over. At the top of that arch, like 2011, Shaun McGee is a close friend.
Which I can't go into, but needless to say, I had to get out of Dodge fast. And then I was staying with Chris Busby.
You were staying with Chris Busby?
Very kindly put me up for a little while. And then, you know, trying to look at my options, I thought I'd come to...
Now that's the guy who also was down, helped Chris Busby move a couple of weeks ago. That video was from 2014. Let's come back to the TEPCO buildings, reactor buildings. So 58 feet up. Now this building is only 8 stories alongside of the depiction. But a good representation, it's 150 feet wide. And so all the reactors, this is Unit 4 on your left-hand side. This is McGee trying... Now, he's supposed to be an activist, highly connected to the activist community. And we'll get to it all in a bit. Hang on. Let's keep going. Okay. So when you think about the top of the reactors... Now, the top part of the open part of the building where the crane is about 40 feet high, or maybe even less. But you can see the little figures walking around on the reactors. Maybe, can you? Let me do that little motion again. So what you're seeing is these little depictions I put there. It's just me. The top of the reactor. Now, the reason I showed you me crawling around is to make you understand how actually big it is in the basement. It's a circle, great big huge circle, and that reactor core is in the middle of the building, right? That's the idea of this depiction. So you can understand the reactor core. We'll just wait till it backs out. And then we'll get right into it. The reactor core goes straight up in the center. So look at the depiction on your left-hand side. You can see the yellow cap. That's the top of the reactor core. It's not in the center of the building, where it's supposed to be, where the two guys on the right-hand side, the middle top part of the page, the top of that reactor of the depiction. Okay. So... this is a 10-story building, but it's actually about 19 stories high.
And the tops of these pools are 100 feet above ground.
Right, and so there's 90 feet above it or whatever. So I'm holding up the bottom of the fuel pool. I'm holding it up. That's what I'm doing. Dana told me to do it. Stay there, too. Okay, so the building on your left... right, it's hard to get context of a depiction, but when you actually look at the actual sizes, now the reality of it was, this wasn't, these reactors are not 10-story buildings. They're very big buildings. They're much bigger than that. They're bigger, they're about the size of the front of that one. It's about 150 feet wide, but each floor in the reactors, unlike an apartment building or a normal building, these are about 10 feet, 9 to 10 feet. But in the reactor, they're around 30 feet each floor. So you have to think in context of how big the buildings actually are, 150 feet wide. And so this would be small, but in comparison, and we'll come right back up, but in comparison, I'm lowballing the building on the right to the building on the left. The building on the right should be about twice the size it is, and same as this one should be about twice the size. But to be actual be the proper depiction. Yeah, the models, when I do it, I usually say it's about 4 feet above me because I want to lowball it. It's usually about 10 feet over my head is where the bottom of the fuel pools would be, so they're gone. I said 4 because, trying to give them a break. Look what happens, yeah. Comes back and bites you. Yeah, and so that's in response to Shaun McGee, a very close friend of Dr. Christopher Busby, one of the iconic nuclear activists that has fallen now from grace. And that if they're willing to lie about many things like this and attack the very people that are getting somewhere, what have they done to the movement in capacity of their experience, their years at this? They have destroyed it. My Unit 4, he's complaining that my Unit 4 diagrams are proving his point I don't know what I'm doing. Do you think I don't know what I'm doing? Do you really think... Having a hard time with everything this morning, by the way. I don't know why either. But everything is just giving me a hard shift. Looks like all my who knows, whatever. Let's keep going. It's very difficult when you're someone like me. Someone that, I live on 1 meal a day. $70 a month normally on food. I've been doing that for over a decade. Now, Shaun McGee had made some interesting statements about Unit 4. Now, if you look at the roof of the building, you'll see a hole there where they didn't cover it over. In the center of your screen, there's a hole there, which is where they used to lower fuel down through the building. Remember how big the buildings are? They're actually 190 feet above ground and 60 feet below ground. And so there's only been homeless and the destitute and the victims of society that done any work there. But inside the building...
This is really why we've been brought here. Where I'm standing is on top of what used to be reactor building number 4. The whole of this building was blown apart by a huge explosion after the tsunami disaster.
So he's claiming he's inside of these two buildings. He is. He's not the only person that done that, right?
Unit 4 was damaged twice. It was damaged by all of the earthquakes that occurred, and it was also damaged by a series of explosions over the first week or two of the accident. So the building is structurally weakened. Now, Tokyo Electric's acknowledged that. They went in May and June of last year. This is more than a year ago, and put an enormous number of extra structural supports directly under the fuel pool to keep the bottom of the pool from breaking through.
Well, you can't get in there, see? You can't get into the building on your left. And Ernie is actually supposed to be an engineer who helped cover up 3 Mile Island, yeah?
1,500 highly radioactive fuel rods inside this pool. They've got to move them outside of this reactor into a safer location. It is a vital, some say dangerous...
Look at the roof.
first step to shut down this plant, a process that will take 40 years. And here's what...
Look how beautiful it is inside. If it was like that on the inside, then what are they worried about? Why the big fuss? These are all official pictures. And so what I'm showing you, that there's a whole network, and they all have to do their jobs.
He took a look at an old TEPCO video, and Tokyo Electric had gone into the Unit 3 fuel pool just once. You remember that Unit 3 is the reactor that's blown to smithereens. The video showed a lot of damage, but Ian Goddard was able to find one spot that there's clearly something that appears to be discernible.
So what the frig is he talking about? All the reactors, fuel pools are gone everywhere, right? And so what this is the old switch and bait routine that just got played on everybody. They all have to work together, right? They all got to work together to make it work, see? Think about, this is from the ocean side. Now, do anybody really think Matthew Carney, coming up next, is inside of, at the top of the building where the fuel pools are?
They're taking us to Reactor 4. It was offline when the tsunami hit, but a powerful hydrogen explosion left the nuclear fuel here in a very precarious situation. They've now...
Yeah, look how precarious. Like, once again, I'm going to snap that right there. But think about what it looks like from all angles, like I've been showing you. Here's the very back of it. Okay? That's the very back of it. Here's the two other sides of it. Do you think the other side that I don't have imported at this very second is going to be any different? And do you really think that if you went in there like these people, Rupert Winfield Hayes is claiming, and you'd be dead? And your equipment doesn't work. Robots don't work. Why is his equipment working? And why is nobody like Busby coming out and denouncing these people like McGee and everybody else?
We are here inside Reactor 4 at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant that was severely crippled during...
Right, claiming they're inside, claiming it right to your face all over the media.
The earthquake and tsunami of 2011, leading to the country's worst nuclear disaster.
Helen Kellicott, no difference, right?
Building 4 is also similarly fragile, and it's got a huge cooling pool on top with all its fuel rods, but they have been removing them. And it's been a very delicate procedure, and they've removed almost all. So if that collapsed now, I think it would probably be okay.
And so if that collapsed now, there's nothing there. The fuel pools weren't there. Right? The fuel pools are not there. And this is only an 8-story building alongside of it. The reactor core went up. They had to come out of the reactor, go up high to be able to get it. The reactor was higher, the top of the reactor was higher than the fuel pools, is what I was trying to say. Okay. Here's RT pretending they're inside of Fukushima Daiichi 1, number 4 nuclear power plant, the ones we were just talking about. All these clips are the same lie as Shaun McGee tried to perpetrate up on the innocents that he runs into on the internet when he's demonizing the people telling you the truth, like me. Not that there's many people at all like me. And if you perpetrate out the lawyers, and then you're the only people we got out there, so, well, Dana, he's the only one, they're the only people we got there, we got to put up with their lies. What are you, stupid? If your daughter or your child was in an abusive relationship and you couldn't get another person, would you say, well, if you got to put up with it, you can't get anybody else? Take that fat lip and black eye and keep your pie shut. But here's your biggest medias, RT, no less, Russia Today. They got a lot at stake, right? But Shaun McGee, at the very top of the page, look at that. Why does Dana never mention the children of Fukushima and thyroid cancer? Cover it up. Is he working for the Japanese government? This is only a few days ago, these comments. But in the control group, I'm not going to get into it right now, but it was 0.08%. I thought I had the headline right there. I do, actually. Hang on, it's in another... Must have put that somewhere. Hang on. Oh, I got it. So 14,000, just 8% of the children, 0.8% of children, rather. So 3 in a million. Now, 13,646 out of 40,000. Not out of a million, but out of 24,000. 40,000 did. When in 2001, it was nothing. It was what it was, 3 in a million. Okay, let's keep moving. So, Russia Today. So, just to end on that, the beer, obviously, I like, just to state it for a fact, I haven't drank in 25 years. It's not that I don't drink, and it's none of your business if I did, but to come out and try to demonize me, claiming that I'm an old drunk and don't know anything, when I actually went out and done the entire coastline of Canada in the last couple of years on Fukushima expeditions. We documented it. It is all up at the nuclearproctologist.org. Hang on. At the nuclearproctologist.org. This is episode 13 of the Shit Nuclear Scientists Say. Let's keep booking. We're running out of time. Okay, here we go. So the fuel pools were on the roof, according to Arnie Gunnarsson, Shaun, McGee, CNN, all the mainstream media, Russia Today. But the roof is actually twice as high as the building on the right. It's 190 feet up. These depictions don't do a justification. So Fukushima shows the seedy side of Secret Services. DC Busby, case history. This is written by Shaun McGee. Archlight 2011, a couple of days ago. I happened to catch it about 30 minutes after it was posted. I'm writing the statement of fact partly because of the new UK investigatory bill. Now, what he's claiming is Busby is being unfairly demonized and watched and everything else. Here's Busby in 2014 playing stupid that the jet streams are not real. The model we're going to use in this one is self-explanatory. It's from France. It's only based upon a couple of days' releases from a single reactor. But Busby makes this statement.
I mean, I had the same problem with somebody in Brazil who was finding enormously high levels of radioactivity in the water, and he was assuming it was coming on the jet stream from Fukushima, which is impossible because it's just too far.
But the models, he knows these models existed. He knows this is possible.
And it turned out the thing had a half-life. You know, he got some tissues and measured the half-life, put it in a plastic bag and so on. And it turned out to be quite short half-life, so it was obviously radon. It couldn't have come from Fukushima, and
it couldn't have come from Fukushima. Yet the models all exist. I know. Well, that's where you have to switch these people off. That's where you have to be human and work hard and find somebody that tells the truth. The model is Noah's model. And I know the colors are off today. There's nothing I can do about it.
Now, as far as the Fukushima radiation coming to the United States, this report from LA and from San Diego, talking about a 5-fold excess, I followed this up and had a look at the weather patterns for those areas and looked at the RadNet measurements, which are on the internet, and where you can see these levels of gamma radiation plotted. And in fact, they plot very much on the top of fog banks. So if you look at fog banks, which of course fog banks occur a lot in California, and as the fog floats in, so the radiation levels go up. Now, I think that the radiation levels would go up anyway as the fog comes in, because there's more material there to cause gamma radiation from quite natural sources. But I'm not saying that's it. So I mean,
how about if I was to come out and tell everybody the jet streams weren't real and show you those models and say they're all fake, the universities don't know what they're doing, they're idiots, they're morons, because Dr. Busby said it's not real. Well, that's what's done to me.
Well, I mean, as far as that's concerned, if you take me, I'm one of the few people that speaks about this stuff, and I just get attacked continuously from all over the place. there is no doubt in my mind that there is an operation taking place from within government or from people within government to cover up all of these things. So it's no surprise that...
Well, sure, look at Japan. Stay there. Let's talk about the cover-up and what it's done in Japan, because now that cover-up has collapsed. Dr. Chris Busby's our guest, llrc.org.
So is that plume in the background real or not? Busby, maybe you should come out and debunk all that before you make statements like you're making.
Having said all this stuff, I know it sounds a bit waffly, but I mean, I would like to wait and see somebody actually measure the gamma radiation spectrum of whatever it is that's supposed to be coming in and causing the irradiation of America, because it's very hard to imagine how there could be a 5-fold increase in natural background radiation from the sort of material that's coming from Fukushima. It's just too far away. But having said that, look at the Norwegian Institute for Air Research right underneath it. They put it on a spectrometer and got the actual numbers, did they not? They actually got the names. Having said all this stuff, I know it sounds a bit waffly, but I mean, I would like to wait and see somebody actually measure the gamma radiation spectrum of whatever it is that's supposed to be coming in and causing the irradiation of America, because it's very hard to imagine how there could be a 5-fold increase in natural background radiation from the sort of material that's coming from Fukushima. It's just too far away. But having said that, you lost all credibility. So back to Shaun McGee. As a researcher and blogger to some of the bigger online anti-nuclear platforms, he had the benefit of overview of this situation. Really? And over the following 2 years, he had many incidences occur. Occult. So, like I look at the left-hand corner, 198 views at 15 hours. It was stuck there for about 12 hours. And then when it updated, it went down 13 views, 185. Or 8 views, 185, whatever, 2 hours later. Think about the actual, what a 190-story foot building looks like. This is not it. But each floor, so the floor you're looking at on your left, on the bottom right left-hand corner, what is it? It's Unit 4, totally destroyed. The fuel pools were way up in the air. So we're talking about surveillance. Sorry, hang on. So personal observation with Dr. Busby, I observed himself. He was under heavy attack. Remember that video I played you earlier? And so the bottom paragraph, Dr. Busby kindly offered to give me money to aid my move, and he would be waiting, blah, blah, blah. And the money didn't show up, and finally it showed up. That's his evidence. That's not evidence. These people are just, who knows what that was all about. He had to get out of Dodge. He talks about banks, blah, blah, blah. So colleague, a person with whom one works, especially in profession or business. And where's it till? Hang on. I'll find it. Just give me a second. I don't know. I lost it. Japan Times. Talks about George Monbiot. We lost it anyway. Got no idea what I got done with it. Let's keep going. So Dana needs to do some proper research in his opinion. Not that his opinion matters, but Reactor 3. Like, do you think on the top of that building that there's a pool like that? Or like that? Do you got any idea the betrayal that you've seen here today?
And that the victims, 30 million one-ton bags. You got a country that's flattened, a country that's radiated. They don't know. They got tens of thousands of dumps like that. They claim that it's only 10% of Chernobyl. But yet there's 30 million one-ton bags, which is insignificant to what they actually picked up. There's power plants all over the coastline that were flattened, that whole area. But yet somehow magically the power plants are alleged to survive. And that anybody who gets this close are dead men walking. These are victims. They didn't do anything to deserve it. That's it. That's all we can do. That's today. That's the show. Just going to stick it at 30 minutes. Stick it at 30 minutes. Let it go at that. Hugs for everybody. Hi, Elaine. Albert. Amthurst. Neil. Ellie. Nep Killer. Illusion. Hello, everybody. Sensor. And we can't even plug the external computer in. My other equipment, everything is dark on it. Life is dark. Activists that we put our fate into are extra dark. Betrayal beyond anything. All the main people that we ran to looking to tell us the truth are shitheads. Cowards. Useless friggin' cowards. Manipulated everybody so we all put our fate they would do the job. They can't even tell the difference between a massive building, right? You can't tell the difference. No, they're bought and paid for. And then the only people left out there, they got to come out and ad hominem try to destroy me with fables. Accuse me of drinking beer and cigarettes, therefore I'm a horrible person. Missing reactor cores melted down, you got proof kind of guy. Yet he's the activist. Trying to play a supporter. And he's done this many times for the last couple of years. It's relentless. That the people that are very close to Busby, Busby doesn't disavow him. Busby doesn't hold Gunnarsson and Caldecott accountable. Caldecott and Gunnarsson doesn't hold Busby accountable for no jet streams and the billing for. And so the whole thing is one great big circus. We're not going to put up with it. We got the death of the Pacific Ocean. The death of the Pacific Ocean. Look, before I say goodnight, we done those arrows where we went, and everything was missing. It was an extinction event. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it through the whole coastline. I'm not the bad person for going out and documenting it. I'm not the bad person for showing you the reactors. I'm not the bad person for calling a lawyer, and I won't be changing that anytime soon. I'll be in court tomorrow because I'm a real activist. So I won't be no show tomorrow. Hugs for everybody.